The following is a partial record of incident number 290. I will not disclose my identity or location for the fear of my own safety. I am leaking this because I am obligated to ensure the safety of the human race. The wider public shouldn't be blind to a risk that may result in their deaths. The wider public shouldn't be unprepared and uninformed of the things being done within closed doors. Be ready, be prepared. I wish you the best of luck. The names used in these recordings are pseudonyms and are not the real names of the individuals making these records. Hello, this is Dr. Marcus Laurel. I work for the British Institute. If you were to Google it, you would get various answers on the web, but none of them are the institute I work for. The nature of our work is, to put it frankly, not for the public eye or ear. I make this recording as a record for the British and Iraqi governments exclusively. Our American, Russian, and Chinese counterparts are not yet privy to the specific information I wish to divulge here. I will begin this record with a quick briefing of what we have found. The following information was gathered on the 21st of May 2024. One of our teams that are based in Baghdad, Iraq, was contacted by the British Institute for the Study of Iraq alongside the Iraqi military with concerns that a possible pathogen was released as a result of excavation in an undisclosed location near Baghdad. The inflicted individual, which we will refer to as Patient 0 or Subject 0, was a male 28 years old and holds both British and Iraqi citizenship. The first symptoms were shown almost immediately after leaving the excavation site, after receiving a small cut on his leg from an as of yet unknown source. The initial symptoms were that of a high fever and fatigue. Within 1.5 hours of the initial symptoms, the high fever began to recede, but the feeling of fatigue remained. To outside observers, the subject seemed to have recovered mostly from whatever ailment had struck him, but quickly the subject reported feeling incredibly cold. Upon measuring the body temperature of the subject, they found that he had a temperature of 34 Celsius and started showing signs of hypothermia. Soon thereafter, the subject began experiencing severe and nearly constant seizures, alongside violent muscle spasms. Eyewitnesses also say that the eyes of the subject were bloodshot and that blood vessels on his face and hands became visibly, I quote, swollen with purple and red coloring. This shows that the subject's blood vessels started to rupture all across his body. Within only a couple of minutes of the seizures and muscle spasms, the subject stopped moving entirely. It seemed he had died, though the parties that had witnessed this could not confirm if the subject was indeed deceased at that moment. They did report that the subject did not breathe and that his skin was cold to the touch. Barely a minute after the aforementioned, the subject again started to have muscle spasms, albeit less severe than before. Following that, the subject got up to his feet with abrupt and stiff movements. The witnesses report that the subject was drooling onto the floor, a mixture of saliva and blood. Shortly thereafter, the subject began to attack the people around him, as if in a blind rage, exhibiting animalistic behavior and with no consideration of his own safety. The subject exhibited increased strength and stamina. The result of these attacks were the death of 2 other individuals, henceforth called Patient 1 and Patient 2, or simply as Subject 1 or 2. The cause of death for both of the subjects came as a result of infected bite wounds on the neck, Patient 1, and right arm, Patient 2. Subject 0 was quickly apprehended and killed by Iraqi law enforcement. Patients 1 and 2 started to experience the same symptoms as Patient 0, but at an accelerated pace. Both subjects began experiencing violent muscle spasms and seizures barely a minute after coming into contact with Patient 0. Shortly thereafter, both subjects got up on their feet, showing the same violent and animalistic behavior as patient 0. Both subjects were taken down by the Iraqi law enforcement. The Iraqi police, report that the subjects barely winced at being shot in the body. One of the subjects were shot 16 times in the torso and once into the head. Only after being shot in the head did the subject cease all movement. The Iraqi military, working alongside our various on-site departments and the World Health Organization, made an off-limits zone around the previous excavation site. All parties involved directly with the incident were put into quarantine for at least a month. The incident has not yet reached any publication, and the wider public is unaware of this incident. We have received all 3 corpses of the subjects for further study. We have yet to isolate the pathogen and determine any effective way to combat it. I will add this comment as a personal note. I think all of you are aware of the fictional concept of a zombie, and this checks all the boxes of a zombie virus, or whatever it may be. We will soon find out, hopefully. If the reports are to be believed, in my professional opinion, I would put this on top of the list for not only national but also global security threats. This is Dr. Marcus Laurel, signing out. Record number 9. Greetings, this is Sean Williams with the British Institute for the Study of Iraq. I have been given this opportunity and, I have been given this information of what had transpired this May on one of the excavation sites in Baghdad. I will not comment on the event itself. I am not an expert in that field. I will leave that to Dr. Laurel, with whom I had spoken at length about the subject previously. I was authorized to continue the excavation on the site where the incident took place, under strict supervision of the Iraqi military and the World Health Organization. I will report the findings that are connected with a previous unfortunate incident where 3 of my colleagues lost their lives. We have uncovered a crypt about 2 or 3 meters underground. Within we have found scrolls that date to the 13th century, written in Greek and Arabic. We have been able to translate some of the texts, while most have interesting insights into the Islamic Golden Age of the time. One of the texts that relate to the incident dates sometime after 1258 AD, the siege and eventual sacking of the city of Baghdad by the Mongols. The text goes into detail about the 13-day siege, which took place, and the brutality of the event. While we do already know extensively about the event, and the text reiterates much about what we already know, it does speak of an event that we have failed to find in any other record. It speaks about one name, which we have yet to confirm if there is any other mention in any other records. A gentleman named Al-Kahim, which was, according to the text, a sort of polymath and alchemist. It goes into detail about what happened in the days that led up to and during the siege of Baghdad. It says that Caliph of Abbasid Caliphate Al-Mustasim, in his desperation to defend the City of Peace, used a kind of biological warfare to intentionally infect his own citizens with a disease that turned them into the soldiers of Shaitan, into demons. The text describes the way the curse spreads and how it turns people with no consideration of their faith, ethnicity, or status into demonic entities, hell-bent on consuming the flesh of man. The way they describe it all, it is eerily similar to the description of the incident that took place a few months ago. It goes on to say that Al-Mustasim would rather turn Baghdad into rubble than give it to the Mongols. It says that every second inhabitant of the city turned into zombies, and that when the Mongols entered the city, they were massacred. The round walls of the city blocked the hordes from wandering out and spreading any further into the suburbs. Though the suburbs too were affected, I should mention that Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age had a population of almost 2 million at its peak, and if the text is to be believed, half of the population, which is, to our estimate, 600,000 to 1 million people, turned into those things. The text goes on to describe the method by which they managed to destroy them. The aforementioned polymath Al-Hakim, with the help of some of his apprentices and the Mongols themselves, found out that fire was the most effective way to kill them. They managed to seal off the walls of the inner city and kill off any other demons that managed to get out. Then they set fire to it. They dumped Greek fire into the Tigris River itself and set fire to it as well, so that even if the demons fled into the water, they would either drown or burn. I have sent you a copy of the translation alongside this recording for you to read for yourself. The original text was written in Greek by an unknown author. That is the extent of what I can tell you so far. We have more text we need to translate. Until then, we will continue the further excavation of the site. This was Sean Williams with the British Institute for the Study of Iraq, signing out. End of recording.